The Hermetica, the lost wisdom of the pharaohs. Written by Timothy Freak and Peter Gandy. Read by Julian Brown. Introduction. A forgotten spiritual classic. The Hermetica is a collection of writings attributed to Thoth, a mythical ancient Egyptian sage whose wisdom is said to have transformed him into a god. Thoth, who was venerated in Egypt from at least 3000 BCE, is credited with the invention of sacred hieroglyphic writing, and his figure, portrayed as a scribe with the head of an ibis, can be seen in many temples and tombs. He is the dispatcher of divine messages and recorder of all human deeds. In the Great Hall of Judgment, the afterlife court of the god Osiris, Thoth would establish whether the deceased had acquired spiritual knowledge and purity, and so deserved a place in the heavens. Thoth was said to have revealed to the ancient Egyptians all knowledge on astronomy, architecture, geometry, medicine, and religion, and was believed by the ancient Greeks to be the architect of the pyramids. The Greeks, who were in awe of the knowledge and spirituality of the Egyptians, identified Thoth with their own god, Hermes, the messenger of the gods and guider of the souls in the realm of the dead. To distinguish the Egyptian Hermes from their own, they gave him the title Trismegistus, meaning thrice great, to honor his sublime wisdom. The books attributed to him became collectively known as the Hermetica. Like many Greek texts, the Hermetic teachings are often presented in the form of dialogues between teacher and pupil. The voices change in the different texts, which can be confusing, so we have chosen to avoid this device and simply present a monologue by Hermes addressed to the reader. Although we have used the familiar term God in the explanatory notes, which accompany each chapter, we have avoided this term in the text itself. Instead, we have used Atum, one of the ancient Egyptian names for the supreme one God. We felt that using this unfamiliar Egyptian name would allow the reader the opportunity to build up their own conceptual picture of what Hermes means by the term, free of any associations they may have with the word God. It is a daunting task to present a new version of any work that is written in a foreign language and uses a distinct and unique conceptual vocabulary. Approaching a text which is also of extreme antiquity and has already been through the hands of a number of translators is doubly difficult. In the ancient Egyptian language, the sound of a word had a magical power which complemented its meaning, a view of language which we unconsciously retain when we talk of spelling a word. Translation inevitably means that we have lost this original power and clarity. Hermes teaches, however, that through the power of the mind, all things are possible. We have tried, through the power of contemplation, which Hermes advocates, to distill the essence of his teachings for a new generation of spiritual seekers. Although human culture has changed beyond recognition from the times of the ancient Egyptians, the essential mysteries of life have remained what they have always been and always will be. For those alive to these mysteries, the writings of Hermes are as relevant today as they were in the distant past. We hope this new version captures as much as possible of the Hermetic vision, playing some small part in restoring to this ancient wisdom the respect that it is due. The Hermetica, the lost wisdom of the pharaohs. written by Timothy Freak and Peter Gandy, read by Julian Brown. The last words of thrice great Hermes. Wise words, although written by my decaying hand, remain imperishable through time, imbued with the medicine of immortality by the All-Master. Be unseen and undiscovered by all those who will come and go, wandering the wastelands of life. Be hidden until an older heaven births human beings who are worthy of your wisdom. Having sounded this prayer over the works of his hands, Hermes was received in the sanctuary of eternity. Chapter 1. The Prophecies of Hermes. In this chapter, Hermes describes the nature of pure philosophy, but laments that in future generations it will become all but lost. The philosophy that Hermes teaches is not just a clever intellectual exercise. It is about focusing the mind in deep meditation on Atum, an ancient Egyptian name for God. Such pure philosophy is about rising above mere opinions to experience directly the mind of the universe. Using the God-given gift of our own little minds, we can come to know the big mind that creates and maintains the cosmos in beautiful order. For Hermes, spiritual philosophy is not opposed to science, as it often is for us today. The student of spiritual philosophy studies science as a form of devotion to God. Through understanding the secrets of the natural world, he is overcome with a sense of awe and reverence for the Creator. He appreciates the perfect order of the universe, as if he were listening to a grand symphony in which every melody has been exquisitely combined to compose one magnificent harmony. Hermes prophesies, however, that this spiritual philosophy will one day become lost and confused. Speaking from our distant past, he uncannily describes the predicament we find ourselves in today. Pure philosophy has been replaced by the teachings of clever intellectuals with no mystical understanding of life. People have ceased to see the universe as a source of wonder and no longer revere it as the work of God. Spirituality has come to be dismissed by science as primitive superstition. The profound wisdom of the ancient Egyptians is thought of as a dead religion and as little more than an archaeological curiosity. Hermes foretells that Egypt, once the home of spirituality, will become a desolate place, deserted by the gods. Out of compassion for future generations, Hermes writes his wisdom in books and orders them to be hidden. Like a time capsule of truth, Hermes' vision waits for its chance to awaken future generations who are lost and bewildered by life. People such as ourselves. The Prophecies of Hermes. Pure philosophy is spiritual striving through constant contemplation to attain true knowledge of Atum, the one God. But speaking now in prophecy, I say that in times to come, no one will pursue philosophy with single-mindedness and purity of heart. Those with a grudging and ungenerous temperament will try and prevent men discovering the priceless gift of immortality. Philosophy will become confused, making it hard to comprehend. It will be corrupted by spurious speculation. It will be entangled with bewildering sciences like arithmetic, music, and geometry. The student of pure philosophy studies the sciences, not as fanciful theories, but as devotion to Atum, because they reveal a universe perfectly ordered by the power of number. Because measuring the depths of the sea and forces of fire and magnitudes of physical things leads to a reverent awe at the Creator's skill and wisdom. Because the mysteries of music bear witness to the unsurpassed talent of the supreme artist, who has beautifully harmonized all things into a single whole, suffused with sweet melodies. To simply love Atom in thought with singleness of heart and to follow the goodness of his will, this is philosophy, unsullied by intrusive cravings for pointless opinions. But I foresee that, in times to come, clever intellectuals will mislead the minds of men, turning them away from pure philosophy. It will be taught that our sacred devotion was ineffectual, and the heartfelt piety and assiduous service with which we Egyptians honor Atom was a waste without reward. Egypt is an image of the heavens, and the whole cosmos dwells there, in this its sanctuary. But the gods will desert the earth and return to heaven, abandoning this land that was once the home of spirituality. Egypt will be forsaken and desolate, bereft of the presence of the gods. It will be overrun by foreigners who will neglect our sacred ways. This holy land of temples and shrines will be filled with corpses and funerals. The sacred Nile will be swollen with blood, and her waters will rise, utterly fouled with gore. Does this make you weep? There is worse to follow. This land that was a spiritual teacher to all humankind, which loved the gods with such devotion that they deigned to sojourn here on earth, this land will exceed all others in cruelty. The dead will far outnumber the living, and the survivors will be known as Egyptians by their language alone, for in their actions they will be like men of another race. O Egypt, nothing will remain of your religion but an empty tale, which even your own children will not believe. Nothing will be left to tell of your wisdom but old graven stones. Men will be weary of life and will cease seeing the universe as worthy of reverent wonder. Spirituality, the greatest of all blessings, will be threatened with extinction and believed a burden to be scorned. The world will no longer be loved as an incomparable work of Atom, a glorious monument to his primal goodness, an instrument of the divine will to evoke veneration and praise in the beholder. Egypt will be widowed. Every sacred voice will be silenced. Darkness will be preferred to light. No eyes will raise to heaven. The pure will be thought insane, and the impure will be honored as wise. The madman will be believed brave, and the wicked esteemed as good. Knowledge of the immortal soul will be laughed at and denied. No reverent words worthy of heaven will be heard or believed. So I, thrice great Hermes, the first of men to attain all knowledge, have inscribed the secrets of the gods in sacred symbols and holy hieroglyphs on these stone tablets, which I have concealed for a future world that may seek our sacred wisdom. Through all-seeing mind, I myself have been the witness of the invisible things of heaven, and through contemplation, come to knowledge of the truth. This knowing I have set down in these writings. Chapter 2, The Initiation of Hermes. In this chapter, Hermes describes a mystical vision of the creation of the cosmos, upon which all his later teachings are based. Hermes derives his wisdom from a dramatic, mystical revelation. While his mind is alert, yet still and empty, he hears God speaking to him. Hermes asks to be shown the true nature of reality, and suddenly, everything begins to change before him. In a mysterious vision, he witnesses the creation of the world. This vision is not meant to be understood intellectually, but contemplated like images from a dream. However, we can explore a little of its deep meaning. Hermes' first experience is of an all-embracing divine light, which as he watches casts a shadow like dark, restless water. Later, he is told that this light is the mind of God, and the dark waters are the unlimited potential out of which God will fashion the universe. This is a mystical vision of the first act of creation, remarkably similar to the modern scientific theory of the Big Bang. An explosion of light and energy slowly cools to become the black womb of space, into which suns and planets, and finally ourselves, are born. This birth, like any birth, is accompanied by pain, and Hermes hears an inarticulate cry of suffering from the turbulent depths. The light then speaks a word which calms the chaotic waters. This word is like a blueprint that will organize a structured cosmos out of the chaos. Modern science might call it the fundamental laws of nature. This word is the first idea in the mind of God, from which everything springs. Initiated into the secrets of the creation, Hermes receives his divine mission from the Supreme Being. Only this knowledge, he is told, can save those who live in darkness. Hermes must become a spiritual guide to all mankind. The initiation of Hermes. My senses were suspended in a mystic sleep, not a weary, full-fed drowsiness, but an alert and conscious emptiness. Released from my body, I flew with my thoughts, and while I soared, it seemed to me a vast and boundless being called my name. Hermes, what are you looking for? Who are you? I asked. I am the way guide, the supreme mind, the thoughts of Atom, the one God. I am with you, always and everywhere. I know your desires. Make your questions conscious, and they will be answered. Show me the nature of reality. Bless me with knowledge of Atom, I begged. Suddenly everything changed before me. Reality was opened out in a moment. I saw the boundless view. All became dissolved in light, united within one joyous love. Yet the light cast a shadow, grim and terrible, which passing downwards became like restless water, chaotically tossing forth spume like smoke. And I heard an unspeakable lament, an inarticulate cry of separation. The light then uttered a word, which calmed the chaotic waters. My guide asked, "Do you understand the secrets of this vision? I am that light, the mind of God, which exists before the chaotic dark waters of potentiality. My calming word is the Son of God, the idea of beautiful order, the harmony of all things with all things. Primal mind is parent of the word, just as, in your own experience, your human mind gives birth to speech. They cannot be divided, one from the other, for life is the union of mind and word. Now, fix your attention upon the light and become one with it. When he had said this, he looked into me, eye to eye, until trembling I saw in thought limitless power within the light to form an infinite yet ordered world, and I was amazed. I saw in the darkness of the deep chaotic water without form, permeated with a subtle intelligent breath of divine power. Atom's word fell on the fertile waters, making them pregnant with all forms. Ordered by the harmony of the word, the four elements came into being, combining to create the brood of living creatures. The fiery element was articulated as the constellations of the stars and the gods of the seven heavenly bodies, revolving forever in celestial circles. The word then leapt up from the elements of nature and reunited with mind, the maker, leaving mere matter devoid of intelligence. My guide said, "You have perceived the boundless primal idea, which is before the beginning. By Atom's will, the elements of nature were born as reflections of this primal thought in the waters of potentiality. These are the primary things, the prior things, the first principles of all in the universe. Atom's word is the creative idea, the supreme, limitless power which nurtures and provides for all the things that through it are created. I have shown you everything. Why do you wait? Write the wisdom you have understood in hieroglyphic characters, carved on stone in the holy sanctuary. Make yourself a spiritual guide to those worthy of the gift of knowledge, so that through you, Atom may save humankind." I was overwhelmed with gratitude to the All-Father who had graced me with the supreme vision. In awe and reverence I prayed, "Please never let me fall away from the knowledge of your being, so that I may enlighten those who are in darkness." Then with his power in me, I began to speak. The aloof laughed at my words, but others knelt at my feet. I told them to stand and receive the seeds of wisdom which I will sow in you with these teachings. So listen, men of clay. If you do not pay keen attention, my words will fly past you and wing their way back to the source from which they come. Chapter 3. The Being of Atom. In this chapter, Hermes attempts to describe God, Atom. Although God cannot be defined with words, Hermes gives some clues for us to contemplate. God is oneness. Everything is a part of one supreme being. Like the number one, which is the source of all subsequent numbers, God is the source of all. Yet just as when the number one is divided or multiplied by itself, it remains one. So God constantly remains the oneness. Because he unites everything, his nature is paradoxical. He is the creator who creates himself. He is always hidden from us, yet he is also the world around us. He has no particular name, because all names refer to him. God is the supreme mind. He is everywhere and always. The human mind is an image of the supreme mind. Through the power of imagination, it can roam the universe and be, like God, in all times and all places. Hermes tells us that if we truly understand the extraordinary power of the human mind, we would then know the nature of God. Everything exists as an idea within the mind of God. He creates all things in the same way that our own minds create thoughts. Just as the nature of mind is to think, so the nature of God is to create. This is not something he did at the beginning of time. He is doing it continuously. God is constantly creating creation and will never stop. God is both the material objects around us and the immaterial thoughts in our mind. The world we see and sense is an illusion, however, compared to the great ideas which only exist in the mind. Above all are the ideas of goodness and beauty. These qualities belong to God alone. They can at best be found imperfectly in the material world, but exist in all their perfection in the immaterial world of the mind. They are so perfect that God is in love with them. God is in love with himself. The being of Atom. Give me your whole awareness. Concentrate your thoughts, for knowledge of Atom's being requires deep insight, which comes only as a gift of grace. It is like a plunging torrent of water, whose swiftness outstrips any man who strives to follow it, leaving behind not only the hearer, but even the teacher himself. To conceive of Atom is difficult. To define him is impossible. The imperfect and impermanent cannot easily apprehend the eternally perfected. Atom is whole and constant. In himself, he is motionless, yet he is self-moving. He is immaculate, incorruptible, and everlasting. He is the supreme, absolute reality. He is filled with ideas which are imperceptible to the senses. And with all-embracing knowledge, Atom is primal mind. He is too great to be called by the name Atom. He is hidden, yet obvious everywhere. His being is known through thought alone, yet we see his form before our eyes. He is bodiless, yet embodied in everything. There is nothing which he is not. He has no name, because all names are his name. He is the unity of all things. So we must know him by all names and call everything Atom. He is the root and source of all. Everything has a source, except this source itself, which springs from nothing. Atom is complete like the number 1, which remains itself, whether multiplied or divided, and yet generates all numbers. Atom is the whole, which contains everything. He is one, not two. He is all, not many. The all is not many separate things, but the oneness that subsumes the parts. The all and the one are identical. You think that things are many when you view them as separate, but when you see they all hang on the one and flow from the one, you will realize they are united, linked together, and connected by a chain of being from the highest to the lowest, all subject to the will of Atom. The cosmos is one as the sun is one, the moon is one, and the earth is one. Do you think there are many gods? That's absurd. God is one. Atom alone is the creator of all that is immortal and all that is mutable. If that seems incredible, just consider yourself. You see, speak, hear, touch, taste, walk, think, and breathe. It is not a different you who does these various things, but one being who does them all. To understand how atom makes all things, consider a farmer sowing seeds. Here wheat, there barley, now planting a vine, then an apple tree. Just as the same man plants all these seeds, so atom sows immortality in heaven and change on earth. Throughout the cosmos, he disseminates life and movement, the two great elements that comprise atom and his creation, and so everything that is. Atom is called Father because he begets all things. And from his example, the wise hold begetting children, the most sacred pursuit of human life. Atom works with nature, within the laws of necessity, causing extinction and renewal, constantly creating creation to display his wisdom. Yet the things that the eye can see are mere phantoms and illusions. Only those things invisible to the eye are real. Above all are the ideas of beauty and goodness. Just as the eye cannot see the being atom, so it cannot see these great ideas. They are attributes of atom alone and are inseparable from him. They are so perfectly without blemish that atom himself is in love with them. There is nothing which atom lacks, so nothing that he desires. There is nothing that atom can lose, so nothing can cause him grief. Atom is everything. Atom makes everything, and everything is a part of atom. Atom therefore makes himself. This is atom's glory. He is all creative, and this creating is his very being. It is impossible for him ever to stop creating, for atom can never cease to be. Atom is everywhere. Mind cannot be enclosed, because everything exists within mind. Nothing is so quick and powerful. Just look at your own experience. Imagine yourself in any foreign land, and quick as your intention, you will be there. Think of the ocean, and there you are. You have not moved as things move, but you have traveled nevertheless. Fly up into the heavens. You won't need wings. Nothing can obstruct you, not the burning heat of the sun or the swirling planets. Pass on to the limits of creation. Do you want to break out beyond the boundaries of the cosmos? For your mind, even that is possible. Can you sense what power you possess? If you can do all this, then what about your creator? Try and understand that atom is mind. This is how he contains the cosmos. All things are thoughts, which the creator thinks. The Hermetica, The Lost Wisdom of the Pharaohs, written by Timothy Freak and Peter Gandy, read by Julian Brown. Chapter 4. Contemplate Creation. In this chapter, Hermes teaches us how to see God by contemplating his creation. When we look at the world only with our physical eyes, God is nowhere to be seen. But if we look with our thoughts, we see with spiritual understanding. Suddenly, God is everywhere. In this ecstatic state, everything we see and touch is known to be a part of God. We understand that God's whole purpose in creating the world was so that through it, we could see him. The cosmos is his body, and we can come to know him by contemplating its extraordinary order and beauty. Hermes asks us to consider the